Cam with an on-camera apology saying, "Be better than me." Max, were you satisfied with his apology?
Yup, and as far as I'm concerned, it's over now. That's any PR firm out there looking at how to handle this situation like that. Whoever came up with this is right on the money, and Cam owned it. If I was nitpicking, I would say a couple times his body language indicated that he didn't maybe really feel the way he was saying, but that's totally nitpicking. He owned it. He showed he understood what he did wrong, what the issue was. He apologized. You can't look into a person's heart, right? But that's okay. As long your behavior has to conform to civil norms, and that's essentially what he's saying. And he's claiming even more than that. He talked about his personal life, his own daughters, the women in his family. He talked about the fact that he was disappointing, including to himself. He challenged himself to be better, told kids, be better than that. I don't know what more you could really ask for. And also, if you just heard it, would almost hear as though it was prepared. When you watched it, it seemed extemporaneous. He delivered it extemporaneously, it seemed. So as far as I'm concerned, that was handled so well that the issue is now over. And others should take a page from Cam's book in this respect.
Max Kellerman, I completely agree with you. I think it's over. I don't think he could have handled it any better. I thought he came across as appropriately contrite and sincere. And it was extemporaneous. I didn't see any written statement. I didn't get the impression that he was reading anything. He brought up his two daughters. He brought up mothers. He brought up how his comments came across as disrespectful and what have you. He acknowledged how wrong he was. And really, when you think about the modern-day athlete, or shall I say any professional in any profession in this country or in this world, the bottom line is that it's about ownership. It's about taking ownership. None of us are flawless. All of us make mistakes, myself included. I know that. And the fact is that we would want forgiveness, particularly if we spoke from our heart, if we looked into the eyes of the world and said what we had to say. I mean, some people are going to have a problem with the fact that he didn't stand up in a press conference and take questions from reporters. Well, what is there to question? He was wrong. It was irresponsible and stupid for him to do what he did and to say what he said. He acknowledged that. He acknowledged how offensive it was. And he spoke to the residual impact that it ultimately had, not just on loved ones, but women the world over. He seemed to be sensitive to that, and he acknowledged that, obviously he's paid the price for it. Now, for those of you out there that want to look at him and say, well, he's only saying this because he lost an endorsement deal. No, I would say think about this for a second. Cam Newton signed a 5-year, $103 million deal, a $22.5 million signing bonus, $60 million in guaranteed dollars. He's scheduled to be paid $23.5 to $24 million this season alone. The brother ain't broke. He's doing just fine. So obviously it's something that, even though obviously he doesn't want sponsors dropping him, the reason why possibly, or in all likelihood, resonated with him profoundly. And I think when we look at it from that perspective, now it's time to look at ourselves. And instead of questioning him, it's about asking what level of forgiveness and what level of compassion is in our hearts. When somebody's made a mistake, they've acknowledged that they've made that mistake. They've apologized publicly. Now, what are we going to do as human beings who are not infallible, who have all, failed in the eyes of God and beyond? What are we going to do in terms of showing an appropriate level of compassion? I think he's done what he was supposed to do. Now it's incumbent upon us to show some compassion, because certainly none of us are flawless.
He can't change the past. He can't change that moment.
He did what he did.
There have been worse moments there are worse moments in human history than the one that he had. So he can't change that moment, but he can own it and include. When you mention endorsements, he mentioned that. He didn't skirt that issue. He said, I've already lost endorsements. In other words, that's a significant thing, but it's more than that. So by broaching that topic, he should. And, oh, by the way, it's one thing. You said people are not infallible and people should forgive Cam and all this stuff. It's not that he has to be perfect from now on, because people will make mistakes even about, the issue that they've made a mistake about in the past, right? But people will be watching him now. The price that he pays, when I say it's over, it doesn't mean there's some bad behavior and you can apologize and it's though it never happened. No, people will have their eye on Cam now to see if he walks the walk in this respect rather than just talk the talk. So that's a kind of an ongoing thing for him and a consequence of his bad behavior in that moment. But a person, a human being, makes a mistake and then owns the mistake and shows real humility in doing it and shows an understanding of that mistake. At that point, I don't even think it's about convincing me or you or anyone that that's what's truly in his heart, because I can imagine some people saying, well, as you said, he's just doing it because of the endorsement, or as I mentioned, there's certain body language that says that maybe he doesn't 100% buy into every word he said. But the fact is, he said it. He showed humility in saying it. He showed an understanding of the subject. He showed, I thought, real contrition at times. And as far as I'm concerned, Stephen A., this chapter is now closed on his career. It's over, and he can look forward. And for any other, and by the way, we would have destroyed him had he not done this. Had he done something, a lesser version of this, or if he wasn't contrite, he would have been destroyed for that. And so I think it deserves to be said now, hey, everybody who messes up, look at what Cam just did. That's the way you got to handle it.
Well, the other thing is that you're going to have people that are not satisfied because he's not standing in front of them answering questions. There are some things that don't require questions. You know, you've indicted yourself by what you said. It is what it is, and it's out there, and it will forever be out there. So the only thing you can do is man up, own up to it, fess up to it, and move forward. And that's what he did, and I have no problem with it whatsoever. As far as I'm concerned, case closed.
Yep, and I'm with you guys. I don't want to be redundant here, but I really appreciate it. And it doesn't bother me that he's not going to have a press conference or stand in front of reporters, but I appreciate that he came on camera. And the other thing, which you also mentioned, we talked about a lack of awareness yesterday when he spoke to the reporter in that manner, and he showed that he understood how he offended people, what he did wrong. We don't grow from perfect behavior. We grow from mistakes. It seems like this was a learning lesson for him. He wanted to encourage other people. And as far as I'm concerned, it's also over as well.